Welcome to the Girl Dad Show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Show. I'm super excited to welcome Drew to the show. Drew, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Good to see you again.
I love how long it took us to get to this point. You've been going through a lot of transitions and moves.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, you're pretty persistent. You've chased me around from one company to the next, and I think there were some bandwidth and some just timing issues that didn't make sense the first time we tried to get this all locked down. But glad to be here today. So thanks, thank you for that persistence.
I appreciate you calling that out. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't feel like I get enough credit for my persistence and how hard this podcast is. So thank you for that. Drew, let's jump right in. I know you because I've got a chance to meet you at a conference, and I've obviously been chasing you around for over a year now. But why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Where do you work and what do you do?
So I am the VP of Legal and Compliance at HomeFront Brands. And I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And most recently, my wife and I are co-owners of we became franchisees ourselves of a concept called Hiking Adventures with Kids, or Hawks, here in the Charlotte, Lake Norman area. And that's been a lot of fun getting that off the ground.
That is amazing. When did you do that?
So I've known of the Hawks brand for several years. My entire professional career has been in the franchising industry. So I get kind of first look at a lot of brands that haven't hit Main Street yet. I see them in the very early days when they're just getting their franchise expansion plans off the ground.
Right.
So caught on to them a few years ago. And this last December, we were looking to my wife was kind of playing choose your own adventure on go back down the career route now that the girls are a little bit older, or maybe get into the business ownership side of things. And I've helped so many people get into franchise businesses over the years. We just asked ourselves, why not us? And we ended up pulling the trigger. We went out to Los Angeles for the Discovery Day in December, signed paperwork in January, did all the training and pre-launch stuff in early spring, late winter of this year. And school got out on a Wednesday. We hit the trail with our first group of explorers that next Thursday morning. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but yeah, wow. This is our inaugural summer of summer camps right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I have several questions about this that we'll get into, but the first one being, so are you doing this with your wife, or is your wife doing this and you're just kind of a cheerleader?
We are very much doing this together.
Good for you.
Much to the chagrin of our daughters, this is breakfast table, lunchtime, and dinner table conversations right now. We are just very much in it. But we've also got a really good kind of division of responsibilities based on both kind of our skill set and mindset strengths. So Danny, my wife, is very much concentrated on the educators and hiring the team and training them and everything that happens out on trail. I'm a little bit more focused on back office business, getting our financing packages put together to get it off the ground. And now that we're launched, I'm kind of heading up a lot of the marketing, especially when it comes to things like Chamber of Commerce, local business communities, kind of leveraging the professional network that I've built up over the years to help us get this thing announced and just share. We're in the share the good news stage right now.
Amazing. Yeah. I've always been reticent and nervous about doing something with my wife. And the older I get, the more I want to do it. It's kind of funny, right? So it's fun to hear someone else doing that and taking that leap of faith, because there's just so much compounding already in a relationship, especially if you have kids, right? And then you're adding another business to it, another whole nother element. It's like I've always been cautious about it because I'm like, why add that complexity? But the older I get, I'm like, this is the person I love. This is my partner in life, and we have a family, we have kids together. It's like, why wouldn't I mix everything together, you know? And so I'm really curious that you took that leap. Did you guys have this conversation before you started it, or was it just a no-brainer for you guys?
Man, that's a really good question. I think, the way we've always looked at it, and we've had this long before making the decision to go into business together in this franchise. Danny she's been a real estate agent before. She was working to do swim lessons, just direct to customers for that. So I've supported her in business. I've owned my own business before. She very much supported me in that. Everything from, literally painting the walls in the office to doing some light admin work. We've always kind of looked at it as it's a household income, and there are household things that need to get maintained. There are business and financial things that need to get maintained. There
Yeah.
are like fun and leisure and recreation things
That's
that need
right.
to get maintained. And
That's right.
it all weaves together. So to kind of separate it, and it's like we're already in business together before we signed a franchise agreement. So this just was another layer of being in business together and just a different channel. So we didn't
Dude,
really
I
see
love
it
it.
as, yeah, it didn't seem like some giant departure from what we were already doing.
I love that. I mean, that just means that you have a really, really good relationship and healthy one that's just kind of intertwined already. I think my wife and I are a little more like binary and linear because I think I'm binary. Like I have like these distinction things, and then my parents also have family business, and I've just seen the cons of it, right? And so I think I'm just like bringing baggage from previous situations.
Sure.
But the older I get, the more I just want to do it. Like something that would make me so happy is if my kids started a business with me. I can't imagine a more fun thing for me to do as a parent. Have you ever thought about your kids working with you?
Man, it's funny. I thought you were going to go the opposite direction. Have you ever thought about like bringing in mom and dad or father and mother? That had an entirely different answer, a very guarded answer.
Yeah.
As far as the kids, I mean, my gosh, being in the business world, especially in like the franchising new business startup world, from a very young age, I exposed the girls to, we have opened many a hypothetical lemonade stand around the dinner table over the
Nice.
years to illustrate like this is how, or even just, you know, watching TV, like a commercial will come on. Like this is why they are telling that story this way, because they're trying to appeal to this audience. Like we never really shied away from bringing the kids into pretty like adult business type, leave plenty of room for them to be kids. But I was very intentional about not really talking down to them, especially as they've gotten into that kind of middle school age. Like we have and now they're starting to reflect that back where they are like, I'll intentionally let them listen to a conference call, and then I'll hop off the call and ask like, what did you guys hear there? And some of the insights that they come back with are really shocking. Of like they intuit things really, really well if you give them space to do so.
Man, I love the exposure concept. Man, you live a free life. I love it. You're just kind of like integrating all of it together. You don't have like buckets and masks for different situations and people.
I mean, I think the whole notion of like work-life balance, there's a bit of a pushback in some of the creator space.
Right.
Some of the authors are starting to come back with this of like, the idea is not to like, I'm in work mode time and I'm in leisure mode time. I think if you don't have the benefit of being independently wealthy,
Yeah.
if you really want your life to look like it has that level of balance, it all kind of weaves in together. So for me, if that means some like 5 to 6 a.m. emails with a schedule send on them to go out later that morning, and then I go hit the gym or go hit the mountain bike trail, and then I'm out on the trail, a call comes in, pull off to the side, answer a call. Like none of that bothers me. I've really broken down those barriers of like it's work time and it's leisure time.
Yes.
With the exception of there are some like pure turn off the grid kind of intentional moments, but outside of that, I don't get bothered by a 9 p.m. phone call or 5 a.m. emails, because I also don't forbid myself from, a 2-hour lunch that involves some errands and some family time. And it all weaves together really well. And that, I don't know if it would necessarily work for everybody, but it works pretty well for us and all the kind of spinning plates we have in the air right now.
It's a very, very fascinating concept, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's the mode that I'm actually leaning towards as well too. I'm transitioning towards your style of just being more like work-life integration, because it's just so impossible. Like to your point, if I'm not independently wealthy, and in order to in order to buy that time, you just have to mix it in, because you can't afford it yet, And so I completely agree with you. The logical sense is that is the natural course, but it is so funny that you've been doing that all along. That's good for you. Did you grow up like that? What was your childhood like?
Childhood, grew up in the Midwest, grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, just south of there on the northern Kentucky side. It's a funny little story. Anyone who's ever flown into Cincinnati gets very confused, because you fly, the Cincinnati airport is located in northern Kentucky. So you land in Kentucky and have to cross a bridge to actually get to Cincinnati. But growing up there, played sports when I was younger, and then was into, I guess, I haven't really reflected on this before, but it was sports in the evening. There was some like academic team and like theater stuff. So I always have kind of worn a lot of hats at a lot of different times. So maybe that kind of laid the groundwork for some of this like work life integration rather than balance. I've always had a lot of plates spinning, and
Yeah.
actually, I mean, sitting at home watching a golf tournament on the couch on a Saturday for 3 hours sounds like absolute torture to me. Like can't do it. I gotta keep moving. So yeah, it's been that way for a while, I guess.
That's killer,
Maybe I need to
man.
take a break. Maybe I need to slow down. I don't know.
No, don't do it. I mean, I think it's overrated. I've been just I've been embracing the fact that that's just who I am. And my wife's the one who's been really teaching me that, because she's like, yeah, let's say you're successful at all of this stuff, and how long do you think you'll really last? I give you 2 months before you like find another reason that you need to build something else or do something else. And
And
so,
I'm super fascinated by it. You know, a lot of people like think, or they'll look at like, well, whether it's well-known figures or just someone in the community, and it's like, man, this person doesn't have to work another day in their life.
mhm.
Why aren't they just hitting golf balls and on the boat all day? And it's like, there's not a lot of like, we're meant to do hard things. We're meant to set a goal and pursue it and fail along the way. It's kind of that, it's the idea of that flow channel. We're meant to exist in a state where things are a little more challenging than we can currently handle, but certainly not so easy that we get bored with it. And if you're outside of that kind of that flow channel, there's just unhappiness on, but there's boredom on the one side and then there's frustration on the other. But if you can find that kind of that middle path, that's why
Hmm.
these guys and these women who, they've got 9, 10 figure businesses, and they're still going after it. It's not, at some point it becomes not about the money. It becomes about that human beings are meant to have a goal that they are pursuing. That's where meaning comes from. And whether that's planting a garden or building SpaceX, like, you're meant to be pursuing something that is reasonably challenging, but also has a bit of a feedback loop of a reward system. That's where we derive meaning from.
Bro, that was amazing. That's awesome. You gave me a meaning to life. I love that. That's great. That's good for you, man. I freaking love that. And I think that that's absolutely accurate in so many different ways. I will say, like, how are you imparting that kind of knowledge or that kind of belief system to your kids?
Ooh, perspective. A
Mm.
lot, a lot of perspective around not they can't do nothing. And that's definitely that would be the definition of falling outside of that flow channel on the boredom side. They cannot make life so easy that it's just full of leisure. But at the same time, we don't withhold love on the other side of a test score, or
Mm.
like they don't need to be doing violin lessons and dance and sports, and like we let them kind of follow their interests. But I think there's a bit of a temptation, and I say this without judgment, and certainly with humility, saying that I don't think that we necessarily have it all figured out. But there's a bit of a notion that you can like win childhood, that
Yeah.
there's like, and I just don't think that, like, there's not, my kids don't have KPIs. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are certain things we want them doing and certain things we certainly don't want them doing, but allowing them to kind of chase down their interest, as long as they are doing something that appropriately challenges them and they're getting like value and meaning and community out of it, we're good with it. But we don't, we're not going down the road of like, we have to have perfect attendance and you have to have these level of test scores and everything. And what we found, I mean, we're just very fortunate in this regard, is it's that notion of, holding on to a handful of sand. Like if you hold it too loose, all the grains are going to fall between your fingers, and if you grip it too tight, the same thing's going to happen. It's kind of that
Yeah.
hold on loosely mentality. That's kind of how we're approaching parenthood and their childhood, is that you can't win it, but there are certain things that we think that they really thrive in that environment of an appropriate level of scaffolding and support, but not so much that they feel like there's like a pressure that the only way to achieve love is on the other side of achievement is not what we're going for
That's
in our house,
awesome.
at least.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And did you guys come up with these kind of plans naturally and organically, like the franchising and business with your wife, or did you guys articulate this and kind of battle plan this out together?
We always knew, I mean, the plan was definitely to, my career was ramping up. I mean, my goodness, I'll take you back a little bit to kind of like the start of it. I
Yeah,
mean,
please.
I always like to joke around that I'm just a bartender that stumbled into the right room enough times in a row, and that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that's still how I kind of think of myself.
Yeah.
I met my wife. We were working at a gastro pub, brewery, and restaurant in Cincinnati, and she came home one day and let me know that life was going to get serious in about 9 months' time. So I had to very quickly grow up and trade bottles and shaker tins for books. and headed into law school. So we didn't really, chart a path to our own franchise ownership journey until the girls were a little bit older. We knew that we wanted to, I was very fortunate to have gotten into a good career path that provided enough financial stability for us that she was able to really concentrate on the kids, especially in the early years.
Mm-hmm.
We'd layer in some part-time work with her, and then as the girls got a little older, she did dabble in the real estate thing, was successful at it, but just didn't love it. She didn't find a lot of meaning and purpose in it. So once the girls got a little bit older, now that they're kind of able to be a bit more self-sufficient, they run out the door in the morning, especially summertime, and I don't see them till the afternoon or evening. They've just got friends all around. So the decision to go into the franchise side was just, we knew that Danny was going to get back into working in some way. And we just asked ourselves, do you want to go work for a company? Yes, there's predictability. Maybe there's some stability, et cetera. Or do we want to kind of play this why not us game of, why don't we be the ones who own one of these businesses that we've helped people acquire over the years? We were up for the challenge. We felt like we were in a good place that challenge. Again, I'm going to keep going back to this flow channel. That
awesome.
That
It's
challenge
so awesome. Yeah.
was within our ability, but just outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't going to make us bored, and it was something that we could execute on. She had the time and the bandwidth to do it, and the brand we chose really speaks to was really big for us. We were very intentional and very specific about the type of business that we opened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really helped. It's easy when you got but motivation runs out. Discipline is doing it when you don't want to. But there are certain things you can do to promote discipline. And I think picking your hard is something that allows you to find the discipline a little bit easier. And we were intentional about picking our hard in the business that we chose.
Yeah. And for whatever it's worth, I love the concept of flow channel. I think it's actually a very, very good epiphany and insight on how to create purpose and happiness. And I completely agree with you, because if you stall too much, inevitably it could be 6 weeks, it could be 6 years, but inevitably if you stay in that stasis of not being challenged, you will eventually get depressed, and depression will turn into something negative and bad for you, and so staying in a stasis of somewhat of a challenging space is actually very, very important, so I completely believe in it. So I think you're right.
Yeah, we had a great, it's funny, this was just last week, we had a great dinner table conversation, and my daughter brought up something to the effect of, I wish I could go back and I think my older daughter was telling my younger daughter that she wishes that she could go back and take her end of grade tests from my older one's in 6th grade, my younger one's in 4th. She was like, I wish I could go back and take the 4th grade tests. And we had this conversation around, this is kind of like, if you play a video game at a level and you achieve level 30, there's things that you had to do to get to that point where now that you're at a level 30, if you were to go back and play those level 10 levels as a level 30, it's going to be boring to you. Yeah. It's going to be like having, I'll date myself a little bit here. I don't know if I say Game Genie, does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Having the cheat codes, the Nintendo powered cheat codes.
That's right.
It's fun at first, but then when you're playing the game with the cheat codes on, that's when you're in that boredom kind of, quadrant of that. You're out of the flow channel because it's become too easy for you.
Yeah, I love that. Before we jump into the next batch of questions, I am curious because you have kids entering middle school, so they're obviously starting to form their thoughts and start questioning a lot more. What do they think you do for a living?
They think that that's a really good question. They're now getting to the point too where they are like a little bit of the mocking is starting to come out a little bit.
Yeah.
So they've heard. And I've usually worked in office, but I've also kind of embraced a little bit of the hybrid approach. So they really just will throw a bunch of franchise buzzwords at me, and they think that I'm part company spokesperson because they've seen me, kind of put a bit of an online presence out there and go to trade shows and a lot of time on the road. But at the end of the day, they know I'm a lawyer, they know I'm a business lawyer, and they know, it's kind of like the you joke around that a dad or somebody who's in the trades will drive around and say, oh, I put the deck on the back of that house, or I hung the gutters on, or, my company put the sign up on that. We do the same thing. We drive around town and it's like, oh, well, there's a cycle bar. I remember we sold that business to that. there's that brand. We talked to them to do their business development, didn't get to a deal, but so we can kind of drive down. We could drive down Main Street USA, and I can point to a lot of businesses that I've either directly had a part of or indirectly had a part of, or at least know people. So they know they're very aware that Dad is in the business development game and in the putting new businesses in the ground.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great. And do they have any interest in franchising themselves, or have they inkled at that at all? Or
we have a fledgling starving artist in the older one. She is embracing all things creative, and she's got real big ambitions. I don't think that I don't think she's opened an Excel file and started to look at some of the cost side of some of those big dreams of hers. But she's also, I think she's got a bit of an eye towards education and academia. Like she's kind of trending in that direction. She's definitely, the stuff that she likes to read and listen to is not what you would expect for a typical 12-year-old. And then the younger one, she's my little hustler. I mean, she is literally like picking flowers out of the garden and selling them off out of the front of the driveway. She's literally putting lemonade stands up in the neighborhood. So
I love it.
Time will tell, but she's definitely I got a little bit of a knack for the entrepreneurial spirit. Now, what's been funny is she's taking it a little too far sometimes. Where everything is a negotiation. Like it's well, if I clear the table, she's basically like negotiating her chores, not on like a weekly, monthly basis, but she's negotiating chores almost on like a, what do you call it? Like not a day rate, but like a piece rate. She's doing piece rate negotiations, and every single thing, making the bed, picking up the backyard with the dogs, like cleaning out the garage, everything's got a piece rate to it. And if I'm not careful, if I agree to it, I mean, I could end up in hawk to her. She's gonna end up owning me. So she's tough negotiator.
That's great. Sounds like she might be a good lawyer as well. Actually,
that's what we need. That's what the world needs. Another one. Yep. Bring another one on.
I love it. So let me get to some of my more serious questions here. What is your goals for success in business in this next chapter of your life? What would be awesome for you to achieve in the next 5 years as you enter this flow state? Yeah.
Next 5 years would be, I think, just at a slightly higher level of what we're doing right now, having acquired some of the skill set, the relationships to be able to operate at that level. So what I mean by that is, this is our first franchise business that we're doing. Maybe along the way, we build a little bit of infrastructure and we diversify into either maybe we double down and go a little bit bigger with that specific brand, or maybe we have a couple that are in play. And then on the kind of legal / franchise business development side for me, I think it would just be, this is got a lot of relationships in the industry. I feel like I got a lot of gas left in the tank. I mean, if anything, I feel like I'm kind of cresting out of that imposter syndrome. I'm starting to feel like maybe I do have a thing or two to say. Maybe it's like, I say this humbly, but I think I've cut my teeth for well over a decade, almost a decade and a half now. So I think continuing to lean in and kind of share the knowledge and the experience. I really like working with early stage brands that are on the come up. I'm not super well suited for, a 1,000 unit private equity backed publicly traded. I just doesn't really interest me. That level of bureaucracy and that like turning an oil tanker of that size is not a lot of fun for me. I like the messy middle of a brand, like maybe not like the first ideation phases, but that kind of messy middle where it's time to systematize, time to operationalize things and really professionalize the business. I enjoy that a lot. So for me, success 5 years from now will mean continuing to grow our own portfolio. I've had an absolute blast just in these 6 months watching Danny become like a true business owner and entrepreneur. And it was something that I saw it and I knew that she had the ability to do it. I don't think she saw it in herself as much. And now she is very quickly time collapsing that imposter syndrome journey where she's starting to like get some positive feedback. And it's been very, very cool to watch that happen. I'm very excited to see where that goes 5 years from now, more so than even, I mean, I'll be working, I'll be doing something, and but like there's a lot more growth that happens in the first 5 years of someone's journey than there is in like, from year 16 to 20. I'm excited to sit second chair and be a witness to that stage of growth for her. That's very exciting to me because it's also going to coincide with the girls going through middle school and high school.
That's
so
right.
like the next 5 years is just going to be like a lot of seeds that have been planted, little leaves popping out of the ground are now starting to actually turn in, like things are starting to flower and fruit starting to bear.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing to witness.
Yeah. It's also a great segue to my next question, which is what is your goals of success in the next chapter of parenthood? And you started answering it already, but I'd love to ask it again to actually hit it on the head.
Yeah, sure. Goals for the next chapter of parenthood. We uprooted 3 years ago from Cincinnati and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. We stayed in the same area for about 2 years. And now 1 year ago, we moved to where we're pretty confident is going to be, this is middle school, this is high school, we're going to see this through. So parenthood goals for me, I mean, it's in the literature, it's in like elements of ancient wisdom, and I see it in my life every single day. Community and relationships are where it's at, man. And what I'm most excited about is now that we've kind of said, hey, no more moving around, this is it, let's put down some roots. I'm very excited to see them form like kind of a lot of the long-standing kind of like bonds with kids that they're going to school with, whether they're doing theater and music and stuff with them, or they're doing sports with them. I'm very excited to see them build their own little communities around them, because I just know how much relationships really drive. I don't even want to say happiness. I don't know if there is such a thing as a pursuit of happiness, but just meaning and depth.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love it. All right. Well, let me switch gears to my rapid fire questions I like to ask every guest here. So the first one is one piece of advice that you have for other parents or soon to be parents.
I think I'll go back to that perspective thing. And that is like, you can't win childhood. And the more pressure does not a diamond make when you're talking about a child and not a lump of coal, right? Like these. Yeah. So I think like steering the ship towards the outcome that you want is definitely, I mean, these kids need guidance. They need leadership. More than anything, more is caught than taught. I'm a huge believer in that. So like, if you don't have perspective and balance, and if you are, pursuing something to the trade-off, to the detriment of everything else, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to pick up on that pressure. So I think, if you really want the kids to have like a well-balanced approach to life and relationships and community and achievement and the pursuit of goals and hard things, then they're going to follow your example way more than they're going to follow what you just tell them and lecture at them. So if your stuff is a little bit out of balance, and then like that will trickle downhill for sure.
Yeah, that's really great. And I will say, I love the whole sand analogy about too loose and too tight. That's really clever too. I like that. I'm going to use that. It's a good one. Talk to me a little bit about you becoming a dad. What was the one thing that was most surprising about yourself that you learned after becoming a parent?
Most surprising thing, I would say, I was very useless in the early days.
I feel like all dads feel like that. Yeah.
And I think we have a bit of a predilection for, we want to be useful and we want to be problem solvers. And a lot of the things that happen in the early days it's much more, it's emotional support. Sometimes it's just being in the room is enough, but you don't need to be in the room to like try to fix everything that's going on. So I think one of the things that I've learned, especially as a girl dad, now that they've gotten older, we tend to have a lot of, when a problem gets presented, we're very careful to like, I have had to be more disciplined of, all right, I'm going to go grab my hammer and my toolkit. Is that what is actually needed in this moment right now? Like, Are we having a fix my problem, dad conversation, or are we having a listen to how I feel about my problem conversation? And I've gotten not great at it. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I've gotten a little bit better at not just reaching for the hammer in the toolbox every time. Sometimes it's much more of a shut up, listen, grab the tissues, and then letting them get to the point where they say, okay, I've gotten it all out. Now let's grab the hammer in the toolbox and see what we can do to fix this.
Yeah.
And that's when I can keep with that discipline and let them do that, it tends to work out a lot better than if I just start swinging hammers at their problems right off the grip.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, and it's primo girl dad advice for sure. That's awesome, man. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you have a favorite book or podcast that you like to listen to or read that you can share?
Man, I'm really down a rabbit hole right now with Cal Newport and everything that he's putting out there. So, I mean, So Good They Can't Ignore You was a great book. Deep Work is a fantastic book. He's got Digital Minimalism is another one. So I think, to the point of he does a lot of, one of the things that I really pulled out of his work is the notion that meaning in your professional life comes from a dedication to craft. Mm-hmm. And craftsmanship, like just having like a high conscientiousness, like really just, pardon me, but just giving a shit about what like what you're doing, and really like wanting to put like whatever it is that you put out, whether it's an email or a presentation or just a conversation in the hallway with a coworker, that you would look back on that and say, I'm happy to put my name on that as something that I did. That dedication to craft, there's a lot of meaning and depth in there. And then his argument is, and I know Scott Galloway talks about this stuff too, is it's like, get really, really good at something, and then you'll get a good positive feedback loop because you're good at something. Mm-hmm. And being respected as the guy who's good at things, you'll find meaning and purpose at being the guy. Being good at stuff. So it's not follow your passion, it's not follow your purpose, it's do what you're good at, and then you will find meaning and purpose by being good at the thing that you're good at.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I say it a little bit differently, but yeah, very similarly, from a finance standpoint, it's like you'll find ways to make money doing what you're passionate about if you have cash flow from money doing things that you're good at and people will pay you for. That's right. So it's a hell of a lot easier to be passionate about something when you're more liquid, So go get liquid first, because it's the more logical, pragmatic financial step. So,
and it goes back to, I mean, it's kind of like it's a bit of the James Clear approach to habit change of like, don't make it difficult on yourself. Like set your gym clothes out in the morning, or the night before. Like, put the things that you want to do. Like stack those habits together. There's a lot of, life's going to come at you fast enough. Things are going to be difficult enough. Like do things make future you proud of the things that you did for him or her. Like make it easy on yourself.
I love it. That's great. All right. To bring us home, last question. When you're not being a super dad or being a superstar franchisee and husband and lawyer, what do you do for fun? What are your downtime activities?
I'm out in the trees. I'm on two wheels out in the trees. I mean, this time of year, I'm usually good for like almost 6-7 days a week. I'm finding time to get on my mountain bike. Some days it's just there's a trail near the house that I can just rip like a quick 3-4 mile lap. And some days it'll be like big days with the girls ride. Danny rides with me. I've drugged them begrudgingly into the hobby, and then I got some buddies that I ride with too. So, you work out a lot of problems on the uphill, and then you get to enjoy a lot of the downhill. Is a nice little reward for working through those things on the uphill. So there's a lot of metaphors that I can draw into my life from the mountain biking stuff, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Drew, this has been an incredible episode, man. You've dropped some really great insights and wisdom. And I can't tell you, I'm so glad that I was persistent, because you have a really good perspective on life and parenting. And I think it was really helpful for me as a dad as well, too. And especially as a fellow girl dad. So thank you for taking the time, man, out of your busy schedule.
Man, thank you so much for having me. And whether it was you or your robot or your PA, whoever, that persistence, keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you at the next conference, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you.
Talk soon, brother.